Hello, welcome to another episode of the Digital and Social Media Sports Podcast. I am your host, Neil Horwitz. Hit me up on Twitter, NJH287. Also on LinkedIn, where you can see more content. The website, where you can see everything, is dsmsports.net. And of course, the podcast is available on whichever podcast platform is your favorite. We have a really good show for you guys today. I was so delighted with this conversation. My guest on the podcast today is Arianna Allen. She's a social media coordinator for the Houston Texans, hence the Houston Texans background. If you are watching this on video, she is just so insightful, very thoughtful with her answers. Talks about everything from the Texans brand, how she finds inspiration with content, how they look at trends and Texans-ize things, what it's like on game day, how they divvy up responsibilities, what it's like producing memes, having memes ready to go on game day. Just so much more, so much good stuff here from Arianna. So here she is. Listen up, Arianna Allen of the Houston Texans. Back on the podcast with today's guest. I'm so psyched to be speaking with her. We've already had some good conversation even before we started hitting recording. My guest on the podcast today is Ari Allen. She is a social media coordinator for the Houston Texans. And welcome to the podcast today, Ari.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the time.
So psyched to pick your brain. I've enjoyed following the Texans content over the seasons, and I know you are a part of it along with your team there. Before we start talking all things Texans and social and strategy, tell us about your career path. I mean, you're young, especially compared to me, but you've already done quite a bit, and as we said, you certainly earned your role there at the Texans. So tell us about your stops along the way and any tips for folks that want to try to do what you do.
Yes, you hit on it. I'm the social media coordinator for the Houston Texans. I've been here for 2 years now. Actually, my 2 year anniversary was April 2nd. So officially 2 years in Houston. Previously to that, I worked at Inter Miami. I was a digital intern there. I also worked in their PR department. That's how I started at Inter Miami. I went to the University of Florida. So I was also a writing intern for their athletic website, and I was doing both. So I was living in Gainesville, commuting back and forth basically each weekend.
Wow.
Whenever we didn't have home football games that I was covering for the University of Florida, I would travel back to Miami or Fort Lauderdale area where their stadium is and work Inter Miami games. And so I did that grind for almost 2 years. And so that was super fun. I got to experience a lot of different things working for Inter Miami and working for the Gators, which was a time, and I loved it. But prior to that, I didn't always go to the University of Florida. I went to community college, so my career started in community college at Broward College,
Mhm.
um, which was such a good thing for me. Like when I first graduated high school, I was really sad about going to community college. I really wanted to go to 4 year school, but it really gave me a time to like reflect on like what I wanted, and like I knew I wanted to work in sports, and like how was I going to get there, and like it really gave me that time to figure that out. And so I went to community college. I worked for the athletic department at Broward College, and then I also worked for the Broward County Athletic Association,
Mhm.
which I interned for them, and I ran their social media. I did sideline interviews.
Wow.
Um, I was the editor in chief of our student newspaper at Broward College, which was super fun.
Yeah.
So it's just a fun time, and I got to work for Rivals during that time. So got to dip my toes in so many different things, and I'm so thankful for it all.
So you came up wanting to work in sports. Like, did you know what that meant at the time? Like, it could have been ticket sales, it could have been community relations, it could have been marketing, it could have been sponsorships. Like, did you know? Like, how did you kind of find your niche and then start to develop these skills in journalism, content, and all that?
Right. So it started with a dream of like being Erin Andrews. Like I love Erin Andrews, and
Yeah.
like to this day, like I love her. I listen to the Calm Down podcast all the time, and like it's
Mhm.
great. Like growing up, like I wanted to be her. I grew up with two brothers and a dad who loved college football, loved NFL. I grew up in South Florida, so naturally born into the Miami Dolphins fandom, and then grew up during the LeBron era, so loved the Miami Heat, and so was
Yeah.
always around sports. Loved college football. Grew up a University of Miami fan.
Ooh, okay.
So yeah, I know, crazy. So crazy that I'm a Gator now,
Yeah, exactly.
but um, but yeah, I grew up loving Erin Andrews, wanting to be on camera. So like that was always the goal. Like going into college and like even throughout my first 2 years, I was still figuring out like, do I want to be on camera? Do I not? Do I want to do sideline reporting?
Mhm.
Samantha Ponder was also someone that I loved. Laura Rutledge was also someone that I loved, and so I really tried to get as much information as possible and like as much experience as possible, to then like pivot into like what I actually wanted to do. And like I still love like sideline reporting, and I still love like being I would love to be on camera one day, but
Mhm.
really getting the experiences with my internships that really helped me shape what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. And so as you started to like get into this social media niche and obviously what you're doing now with the Texans, like it what does that roadmap look like for someone who's coming up as a student? Like, okay, I need to be good at just general storytelling, or I need to like really understand like content strategy. I need to know how to do enough video, enough photo, or maybe I need to be really really good at video, or really know CapCut. Like, if you're coming up now and trying to get into these social media or content roles, like what does that path look like now? You have to kind of be an expert at everything, or be like almost an expert at everything, know a little about a lot? Like, how do you decide like, okay, I don't need to necessarily specialize, but I need this broad set of skills because that's what these social media roles require now.
Yeah, 100%. I would say getting as much experience as possible in as many different areas as possible. So, I started in PR at Inter Miami, and like that internship really help prepare me for what digital was going to bring, like for my next internship at Inter Miami. And so I would say like saying yes to as many opportunities as possible, learning about a lot. So what you said is like learning about a lot of different things, because like you said, like there's so many roles out there that require you to know a lot, know a little bit of graphics, know a little bit of video, know how to post, know copywriting, like all the different things that you need to work in social and be a person in social. I would just say like getting that experience and saying yes to opportunities, also putting yourself out there to different people and saying like, hey, I offer this, like this is the value I bring you. And being willing to learn also, because you're not going to know everything right off the
Yeah.
bat. And like, that's something I learned, is like being willing to learn and ask for help.
Oh yeah. No, I mean just having the courage to take those steps, and certainly as you demonstrated, walking in your athletics department door at wherever you're at school and saying, "Hey, what can I do? Let me get experience here." Like, and you obviously developed a lot of experience throughout the way, and then making that commute between Gainesville and South Florida, a lot there as well, and just even getting that exposure to, I mean, working in football and the other football, and then even in rivals and what that looks like. And you obviously came up at a time as well when the way that content was treated and packaged was undergoing a really rapid evolution with the rise of Musically and then TikTok, and it became this whole other world of short form content and less polished content and that more raw type feel. So as you got exposed to all these different types of fans, different types of content production and production standards and quality, or just the different ways to present and package content and where to distribute it. Like, I guess, what were those early insights that you picked up around like this is what is really working in soccer right now, or this is what the college football fans like tend to look at content, and this is what NFL fans are looking at. Like, what are the sort of the similarities? What are the differences? And what have you kind of picked up as well, just from your own generational experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think first and foremost is we are consumers. We consume this content, and you know, being in sports, like obviously I grew up a fan of sports. And so what is like naturally getting my attention? Like that is something that I'm super self-aware of. Like what is something that I like to see on the platforms, and like what am I consuming right now? So that is like the first thought that I think of when seeing all this different content differentiation of what people are posting, and like the evolution of it, and like how it evolved too, of like why is it working, like asking yourself like why is this working, and how can we apply this to our brand, like I often look at like college football like for inspiration, and I work in the NFL. Like it's totally different, like it's the same sport but it's totally different leagues. And um, I look at like these other accounts and these other brands. I look at NBA. I look at F1. Like, how does racing even like compare to NFL? But like something is working in their strategy that their audience is liking. So how can we make our audience like it and engage with it?
Yeah. And do you find like, especially working in these different, I think the experience, and we were talking about this a little bit offline too, of me coming up in a world where I worked in non-traditional hockey markets and trying to find those hockey fans. Whereas like if you come up like and you're working with UF and like you know that those fans are diehard fans already. Whereas Inter Miami, like they might have to help. Yeah, there's plenty of soccer fans in the state of Florida, but you're also
Right.
trying to find where are these new fans? How do we get them to become fans? Like, what have you learned, even whether back then when you were with Inter Miami back then, like a couple of years ago, or with the Texans as well, of like, is it about we are trying to serve our fans and super serve them and get them to become bigger fans versus we're trying to find the new fans and find people who aren't fans yet and trying to bring them like how do those two different sort of not necessarily competing masters but different types of goals factor in when you're creating content.
Yeah, 100%. I think the first thing is like I'm a very relationship driven person. Like I love creating relationships with people and like the part of social that I love is the ability to create relationships with people that like you don't even know. And like these followers are ultimately people that the brand is creating a relationship to. And like what does that look like? Is that, I love being authentic and genuine, and I love like the part of Texan social that we have been able to show our players and their personalities and being authentic, being themselves. And like, I would say by creating relationships, you are creating value for the person engaging with the content. You are evoking an emotion, whether they are a 20-year fan or whether they are a new fan and they're just getting into football and they're just starting to like the Texans, they just start liking CJ Stroud. Like, you by creating that emotion, they are wanting to come back for more because it made them feel good. It made them feel like they were a part of something. It made them feel like they were in the locker room with us. And so I think that is always the goal for me. Like that's how I look at it, as like I am wanting to continuing to build the relationship with our fans, with our followers, with the people that engage with us, with our audience, and like really creating a place where they feel welcomed and where they feel like their voice is heard. They feel like they know us.
Yeah. No, there's so many good things to jump off from there. Like there's something to be said for creating this community. You are part of a lot of Texans fans, and that's a reason to root for the laundry, as like Jerry Seinfeld would say. And then there's also the side of like we want to create fans of humanize these players and create fans and as you mentioned like that sort of parasocial bond and make sure that someone is a big fan of CJ Stroud, is a big fan of Will Anderson, and wants to fall in love with these players who yes will come and go eventually. That's just the nature of sports. Like they're not going to be on the team forever, and you want to make sure that fans are fans even when their favorite players leave. I mean, heck, like your former employer Inter Miami is a perfect example right now where they're gonna have a big challenge awaiting them in 1, 2, 3, 4 years, however long Leo Messi decides to play at Miami and continue his career. They have to be ready for the day when he leaves, and how many of those fans will leave with him. And so, like, when you're thinking about developing that sort of connection to the Texans, along with the connection to CJ Stroud, and those are not mutually exclusive, but like, is there an idea of like we are trying to also make sure that these fans are fans of the brand of the Texans, alongside of making sure that like we are building up these superstar players, even though we know that whoever 5, 6, 7, 10 years from now that they're going to be gone.
Yeah, I think naturally, I think they go hand in hand, honestly. I think JJ Watt is a great example of that. I think you look at JJ Watt and everything he brought to the city of Houston. And I mean, you can see that with our current team of the current players on our team and everything they're bringing into Houston. We are far beyond just a football team. We are in the city. We are doing things as a brand to be a part of the city of Houston. And I think there is something so beautiful in being a part of that because you are bigger than just the sport itself. And, you know, it's really cool working for the Texans and being a part of an organization that is doing outreach and being in the city and really putting our city first. And like our players know the value of that and like know why that is so important. And I think like by building that and by having that sense of community like on the outside, like I think fans will continuously be Texans fans whenever whoever is gone, like
Yeah.
I think you build that rapport and you build, you know, the reason why you loved this person for so long. And like, nothing is forever, and we can just go off of what is happening right now and what is currently happening. And I think it's an exciting time to be a Texans fan. It's an exciting time to work for them. And I think naturally you will see that fans will be coming back for more,
Oh yeah, and
regardless of who's on the team.
And you obviously arrived at a good time for the Texans as well, with
Right.
kind of the new regime and almost starting over and becoming this really successful team. I want to take a step back even. We kind of skipped over this part of kind of getting to the Texans and trying to learn who they are, who they were, and yes, that may have evolved with the regime change and the new head coach and CJ Stroud and new players coming in. But like I guess like what was it like for you to sort of learn what the brand of the Texans was, how they want fans to see them, especially, the Texans. Yes, they've always been around probably for you because you're so much younger than me, but like they're still a relatively newer team. The parents and grandparents today didn't grow up with the Houston Texans. They grew up with the Houston Oilers or no Houston team at all for a little bit. And you have the other team in the state, the Dallas Cowboys, who have a much different brand than the Houston Texans probably. So like, like what is that Houston Texans brand? How does it differ from the Dallas Cowboys? And how have you kind of picked up what that brand is, and how has he sort of evolved in your time there as a team has become the successful like team that expects to make the playoffs every year?
Right. So, like you said, I came in at an exciting time. It was D'Amico Ryans had been here for a few months. I came in April. We were getting ready for the draft, and it was just an exciting time to be a Texans fan. And so, I think first and foremost is like the brand is we are the Houston Texans. So getting into this city and really being a part of this city, getting into the culture of the city, the food, the different music, like everything that the city has to offer, the diversity, like everything that the city has to offer, like is what we want to show and like is what we're proud of. And so I think really building off of that and like the city connection, the connection to our fans, I think is something that we are currently like is of one of the most important things that we're doing. And so then having like D'Amico and CJ and like Will like all coming in at the same time, like that was super exciting and a really fun time to be a part of this organization. And I think making people feel a connection to that as well, and like understanding like what came with that as well, and the expectations, but also like how fun it was and how fun it is to have this team like continuously building. And D'Amico talks about like building a strong foundation. And so I think that's really what we have been able to do over the past 2 years, like on the football side, but also on the social side. Like
Yeah.
in every area of this organization, we have laid a really strong foundation. And I think it's definitely an exciting time.
No, hell yeah. And like how does that like kind of translate into how you are not necessarily you individually, but your team looks at success of content and the goals that you're trying to accomplish? Like it's easier to say like success means we have a lot of engagement and our engagement was higher this year than last year or higher this week versus last week. But is it that black and white? Like are there things like we want to make sure that we are sharing what we're doing in the community? Yes, the content might not go viral as much as this other type of content will. We can do crazy catches all day. We can do interviews with players and like mini mic content all day. But we also want to show the visits to the children's hospital, the doing work at a school or whatever it might be. Like how does that sort of balance come into play when you're creating a content strategy, when you're creating content in general, when you're thinking about what success truly means to you guys as a social team?
Yeah, I view it as storytelling at the end of the day. And this is like, I got my career in or I got my bachelor's degree in journalism. So journalism really prepared me, like that training that I had at the University of Florida really prepared me for what good storytelling looks like and what ways to translate that to social. I think success is often built in how are we telling the story, and are we telling it the best way that these platforms are wanting at the end of the day. Like every platform is different, and are we telling a consistent story on Twitter as we are on Instagram, as we are on Facebook, as we are on TikTok, And so I think it's definitely a balance of all the things. I think in any good social strategy, there is a balance of, what are we doing? What is the football content? What is the heavy hitting? Where's the personality content? You have all these different buckets that you're trying to fill. And I think having balance in all those buckets and knowing like the different buckets that you need to have is so important, and being on the same page with your team as well.
Yeah, so is that kind of how you all look at content calendaring and strategy? Is like, okay, we have certain, like, I'm not gonna say pillars, but something along those lines, like content buckets, pillars, whatever you want to say. It is like we want to hit each of these pillars, and yes, we want to do the best we can with each of them, but they're each there for different reasons. And there's like, how formalized is that? Is it just like in your head, we want to make sure there's a healthy balance of X, Y, Z within our content?
Right. I think we definitely have a content calendar, and we're definitely on the same page like as a social team as to like, okay, like, maybe we should showcase this week, but also knowing like what's timely. So, like doing like around Pro Bowl, like different throwbacks to like D'Amico at the Pro Bowl or JJ at the Pro Bowl, like having it be different, like having it be timely and based off of like our content calendar. We have like this big content calendar that we have dates on, and like everyone's able to contribute, but we also know like everyone is aware of what the organizational priorities are and like what we need to execute and what we need to highlight and all the things.
Yeah. And when it comes to like we alluded to, the team, I was not picking the Texans to go to the playoffs a couple of years ago, but they've been like CJ Stroud came out and has just been a revelation, and certainly the rest of the team as well. And D'Amico Ryan's doing a great job as a coach, and Bobby Slowick and all those guys there. So when the team was good, maybe when people didn't expect them to be as good so quickly, how does that affect what the Souls team does, if it does at all? Like when it comes, whether it's just based on the type of content you're going to be able to do, or the tone that you're using, or the voice that you're using. Like, do those things remain unchanged regardless, or is like, hey, we're pretty good. Like, we can have a little more swag, we can do a little more trash talking or whatever. Like, does that affect things at all? And how did that sort of play out, especially during that first season when you guys were pretty good?
Yeah. I think you definitely want to translate the excitement that is on the field. You want, like, my goal is always to translate whatever is happening on the field on our platforms and making it exciting. Like, it is an exciting time. Like, our fans are excited. Let's be excited, Like, and that was definitely like one of our goals is to, if you weren't at the game, we wanted you to feel what it was like to be at the game. We wanted you to feel that excitement of hearing the loud screams at the stadium, when Nico was scoring a touchdown, like we want you to feel that. And so I wouldn't say I wouldn't say that we were surprised by it by any means, but I would say we were ready to capitalize on the moment and knowing that, you know, winning does change a lot. And so winning does help when you're working in social, and everyone is a lot happier when you're winning. And so knowing that like we would be able to capitalize off of those moments and maximize our opportunities when we did get those opportunities, and what would that look like, what does maximizing the opportunity looks like, and being able to reflect internally as a social team as to how we are going to maximize this so that fans continue to feel the excitement, because you play one day a week, you play on Sunday, you play on Monday, Thursday,
Yeah.
Saturday in playoffs, but how are you translating that excitement to every other day in the week? And so
Yeah.
finding new ways to really challenge yourself, dipping into different formats, dipping into things that other brands have done, and seeing like, how do we make this Texanize, and how do we translate the excitement that is currently around us onto our social platforms?
Love that. Is that kind of like, 'cause I want to sort of double click into what it means to maximize the opportunity, as you
Mm-hmm.
stated. It was something that we talk about a lot in this podcast, is like, you can't control the wins and losses, but when you're winning, like, have a plan to take advantage of those opportunities, because it does
Right.
matter. So does that mean like, does the volume of content go up or down? Does the type of content you can try can you take a few more chances when you're winning because there's more benefit? Like, or does it mean like you can try to create revenue opportunities, like run contests and sweepstakes? Like, what does it mean to sit down and say, hey, we got something going here. Let's not let this pass without really capitalizing.
Right. I would say, yeah, you sit down and you really assess like what content you're putting out, and then also being ready for like those big moments where like you said, you can't control the wins and the losses, but you can control your reaction to both of those. And what our fans are wanting, having active listening, monitoring our platforms, like you know, who do they want to see more of? Who are they really excited about right now? And so I would definitely say like we have a plan for everything. So we are really prepared in our plans for everything and really assessing every possible situation that could happen, every possible content opportunity that could happen. You know, if we get a really good mic'd up one week, you know, like making sure that we're hitting on the key things in that mic'd up that might resonate on social and might resonate with our fans, you know? So really like dipping back into what we have and what we already have available to us, and then knowing also like the potential content opportunities to then maximize off of those, if that makes sense.
Totally. What is I hate to bring the other side of the coin up, but like, what does it look like on the other side of the coin where maybe you have a couple losses in a row, and now like it's going to be a little bit more of a dour feel in the on in the clubhouse and on the field during the practice week, like during the Monday through Saturday or whatever. Like, does it mean that we have to have some stuff that's kind of banked because we're not going to be able to do as much with the players this week as we had planned on, or we have to change this more lighthearted stuff and to just keep them more focused on what we're doing to get better? Like, how does the pivots take place, if at all, when it comes to getting over a week? Because yes, you can feel good for a week after a win, but you also don't feel you feel bad for a week after a loss too.
Right. I think definitely when you lose, it's no one likes to lose, first off. So I think it's being aware of your surroundings, being aware of what's happening in the organization around you, but also like knowing that like it's a loss and we'll get through it. You know, like I think D'Amico hits it on the head when he says in his press conferences, like, we are moving on, you know, like we lost, we're assessing what we did wrong and we're moving on. And I think it's the same mentality here. Like, you know, we lost, okay, we're moving on to the next week. Next week mentality. It's still an exciting week to get to play football. So what are we doing to engage with our fans?
And so, like, you almost have to say, like, you're allowed to smile after, even if it's a week after a loss. Like, it's okay. Like, you don't have to be down in the dumps like the entire next week until you win again. Like,
Right.
you don't need permission to do that, I guess.
Right. Right.
This is what also I want to hear certainly about, just because something that I touched on when I first reached out to you, is I think you guys do a great job of really making that relationship with the players, and that kind of start what you started out talking about is making sure that fans are getting to know these players, falling in love with them. And so what was it like for you to develop relationships and trust with the players, with D'Amico coming in as well, and making sure that he and his staff were comfortable with you guys being around? I mean, I think for the most part now it's just expected and table stakes to know that there's going to be social people capturing content throughout the day and video people capturing content, because that's the nature of the game now. But it's a matter of like making sure that we know who's gonna be up for this mini mic content, who's gonna be down to answer this question, who's gonna be a good person to talk to for this and for that, and developing that trust and kind of learning those players. So what was the process like for you and your colleagues as well on your team to really develop these relationships and get to know which players are going to be down for some of the more fun stuff?
Right. It's definitely a fun thing to get to build relationships with the players, with the coaches. I would just say, like, being yourself, like, being normal, like, having a conversation, saying hello. Like, I am a huge, like, I love when people say hello. Like, I think it's one of the most underrated things that we do in this world is saying hi to people and, like, smiling.
Yeah.
Like, literally smiling, showing that you are human. And I think you start building relationships when you start having conversations with people. I think, you know, we we don't always need them for content, you know, like just having a conversation, hey, how's your day going, you know, like building that rapport. And then also like knowing that like we all know that we have a job to do, and like this is our job, is like, can you do this for me, can you do that, can you help me with something, you know, like the players understand that we also have a job to do, but also knowing that like we also care about them and that we are wanting to build that relationship with them and we are coworkers with them. And so that is outside of the content, you know, like,
Yeah.
which is really important. And I'm really proud of that we've been able to do that the past 2 years that I've been here. I think we've really seen a breakthrough and really seen like the human side to the players and allowed our fans to see that as well, which I'm really proud of.
You almost like start to take whether mental notes or physical notes or like passing knowledge among each other of like, hey, this person's really good on his way into the building in the morning. or this person prefers to, talk to him after practice. Don't talk to him before practice. Or like, did you start to understand like what the player tendencies are, who's down for what their interests are, like, and how does that get either again living in your head or in a more formal way, like as part of like just learning as a team.
Right. You get a feel definitely for different personalities. Not everyone loves to be on social, not everyone loves to be in front of the camera, not everyone likes public speaking. So you definitely get a feel for different personality types and you adjust. And like some of the people that aren't don't love the camera, like I still talk to like when I'm in the locker room. I still say hello. Like it doesn't change my approach in any way, shape, or form. And you kind of just know like you're around them, so you know the personality types. And I would say like you definitely learn and pick up just like how you would a friend, like literally just like how you would a friend, your coworker that you sit next to at work every day. Like you learn more about them and what makes them tick and what they like, what they don't like, and you adjust.
So something that caught my eye with your content just stuck with me for a while now is Xavier Hutchinson being like almost like hosting content kind of like having the mic in his hand. So like give me the background of how does that come together? How do you like do you say, hey, we want to do something that's player hosted, like, and you talk to PR, like who do you recommend? And or is it do you like just is it you put out a call out to players, or do you like talk to a player here and there, like, hey, we're thinking about doing this, do you think you'd be down for it? Or a player like talks to PR himself and says, hey, I want to get involved in the content. How does that come together, and how does it actually get executed as well to make sure that everyone looks good and feels comfortable doing it?
Right, that's a great question. I would definitely say it comes from recognizing the personality type. So like with Hutch, like we have a great relationship with him. Like we've given him social awards before, and like we talk to him regularly in the locker room, like off camera, like so we kind of knew that he had a great personality for this, and so we everything goes through our PR department here. So we brought it to PR. We were like, hey, like this is kind of what we're thinking. Then they go and talk to the player, and we make it happen from there. And so it was definitely a match made in heaven. Hutch is great. He is so funny, and so we knew that his personality and like we knew he would thrive in this if he wanted to do it. And we never put pressure on any of them to do anything that we're doing. Like if they don't want to do it, they don't have to. And so he was down to do it, and it was a match made in heaven.
And what does the actual like execution of the content look like? Is it like, hey, here's like the rough outline of what we want you to say, but do you, or like, hey, make sure
Right.
like don't use profanity or don't say this, or like
Yeah.
we want you don't talk too long here. How does that come together and make sure that the actual end product is something that everyone can be happy with?
Right. I would definitely say like we strive to be as organic as possible. So we really try to not have like too many restrictions, like don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. We normally give like a guidelines as to hey, like you can follow this. This is what we have prepped. But if you want to go off and like ask your own questions or like come up with this or just like have fun with it, like do you. And so like most of the time like do you. And so that's typically what we go for. And, we can edit whatever needs to be edited. And so we typically, when recording content with players, like we really try to not have like any restrictions and let them just like be themselves. And if we need to cut back on something, like we cut back on it. Or if there's a curse word here and there, like we blur it out. Like, you know, we just really, I think it all goes back to the relationships and building the authentic relationships and, showing a human side. And
Yeah.
when it's scripted, it's scripted. And we typically tend to try to not have it be scripted.
No, totally. That organic stuff when it feels real, the audience can tell as well. And it's similar to what we're seeing like in the greater creator economy. Like everyone will say, if you're gonna hire a creator or work with a creator, like don't tell them exactly what to say. They know, like let them be themselves. Because what they're doing has been working. So like don't give like overly instructed or explicit instructions. Like just give them a rough idea and let them do their thing. So that's a
Right.
so something that came up, just a few more minutes left here with Ari Allen, social media coordinator for the Houston Texans. The time is flying by. We're getting into the fourth quarter here, but a lot more to cover. And something that came up when I spoke with Zach Gallia a few months ago now, who's with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he talked about how it was easier early on in his career because he was marketing to himself. And he was like he was trying to reach a young audience, and he was that young audience. You are in that sweet spot now, kind of where like the Texans want to reach a younger fan base. that's you. So it's like you don't have to necessarily like ask like what are the kids into these days? Like you can say, oh, what are me and my friends into? We can kind of look at that. So when you're looking for like content ideas, you mentioned looking at other brands earlier as well. When you're looking at like what's next to content, what's hitting right now, like what should we be thinking about? And what platforms are out there, what trends are out there, like what is that process like of like what's gonna be the next sort of like putting a question in front of the camera for players like the question of the day type stuff or having a mini mic content or having this kind of new behind the scenes stuff like where these ideas come from, how do you understand what's working, what's not working, like and do you have to give something kind of a couple of tries before you say this is a nice experiment but a fail, let's try something else instead, like what's this sort of iterative process look like, the research process look like, and how do new things come together?
Yeah, that's a great question. I love this question. I think first and foremost is getting inspiration. Like what we do is a creative field. And so really getting inspiration from other accounts is so important. And I think it starts the process, the creative process for brainstorming. I mean, I think I'm always thinking of ways to Texanize different content. So I look at stuff in the NBA, I look at the WNBA, I look at F1, I look at like places outside of the NFL to see like how can we bring this into our brand and how can we make it applicable so that our fans care about this at the end of the day. And so I would definitely say like doing your research, like knowing the brands that you like, knowing different content formats, like I one of my favorite platforms to work with is Instagram, and it's because of the ability to be creative and try different content formats that work. So, looking at ESPN college football and seeing what they're doing for their in-game highlights and seeing how that's working for them. Okay, how can we do this in game? Like how can we apply this to our in-game strategy and like really really like tapping into the research of it. And like people don't realize how much research is involved in these things. And then also knowing what our audience is wanting. I think every time I open up my Twitter timeline or X timeline, I
Twitter,
am
Twitter all day,
constantly,
I call it Twitter.
I call it Twitter. I'm constantly bookmarking things of, okay, we can do this during this, we can do this during this time. And I'm constantly booking it and saving it so that I'm reminded of this moment at this time. Like, it's funny. We have a group chat with the coordinators and my boss, and I sent an idea today for rookie minicamp. I don't even know when rookie minicamp is happening, but like, I saw this idea that I really liked, and I think we should execute it during a rookie minicamp. So
Yeah.
being aware of like those moments, and it was outside of football. So like, how are we applying it to football? And I think also like collaboration. Like our team is a very collaborative team, and we are constantly having meetings. We have weekly meetings in season of like what content we're doing, how do we make it different. We have check-ins of like, we should try this one game, we should try that one game, we should follow a player out one game and see how that does on our iPhones. Like all these different things. We're constantly trying to be innovative and constantly trying to challenge ourselves to try new things because it's so easy to get caught up in the redundancy of it because it's so week to week and it's
Yeah.
so schedule based. So how can we break those barriers and how can we try different things? I know I'm talking a lot, sorry.
Oh,
But
totally.
one example is, we saw, I forget what teams did it. And I think a few teams did it, but we saw where someone took a fan's phone and like was like, oh, we're gonna go record this moment and give it back to you. So
Yeah.
like that was something that we had been wanting to execute. We didn't get the right time. And then when I was in Kansas City for the divisional playoff game, I was like, we're doing this. Like we're doing this. What cooler
Yeah.
moment to do it than now? And so, I went up to a fan, I was like, give me your phone. And like he gave me his phone and like I recorded Nico doing a warm up and like being with the wide receivers, and now he has the video of Nico on his phone. Like how cool is
Yeah.
that? Like trying different things. And I know it was an NFL team. I can't remember the team for whatever reason, but like shout out to them for trying that first and like doing it and like setting the precedent and like constantly trying those different things that our fans will pick up on and love.
Heck yeah. No, breaking up that monotony is so important in sports. Like, otherwise, it can become the same thing. It's warm ups again
Right.
this week. It's this again this week,
Right.
and also kudos like to be able to say, hey, another NFL team did this. It was good. Let's do it with our fans, and not to
Right.
say like, oh, well, they did it. We can't do it. It's like your fans are not their fans, and they're different fans, and like a good idea is a good idea, and to be able to have your players do it, like that's another really healthy thing as well. Like how do you kind of know something has is working? Like especially like if you try something and maybe it's a week after a loss, or maybe it doesn't hit as much as well as you thought it would or could, if you maybe ask a different question or phrase a different way or package a different way, like how do you start to evaluate this was successful, it did what we wanted to, or maybe this could be successful, we make a couple of small tweaks here, let's try it again. Like what's kind of the guiding light there?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say it depends on the content. But I would say there's no content that is a failure. And I would say that because there are always ways to evolve it and make it so that it is successful. And so I think it really comes with evaluating what you're doing and how you can make it better. And an example I'll use is training camp. We have this thing called camp comps where it's sponsored by Xfinity, and ultimately it's like our players doing different competitions throughout training camp, and like it's something we did this past year, and it was a really fun idea, and it didn't work out the way we wanted to, or it didn't work out the way we thought it would the first year. And so we're like, okay, going into year 2, how can we make this better? And with any piece of content that we're posting, we're always evaluating how it could have been better and what that looks like for us. And so going into year 2, this past year of camp comps, we were like, okay, let's do different challenges with the guys that they're interested in. I mean, our guys like to golf. Like, let's bring a little putting green out. Like, before training camp, they get a shot to get the ball in the hole.
I
And
remember.
whoever gets the ball in the hole, like, gets a prize at the end. And so we kept track of it, and we made it like a competition. We kept track of like what guys did the best, and we gave them trophies at the end of training camp, like saying, hey, like, you won in this area. We did darts. That was so fun. Like, like, and they're so into it. And so, you kind of learn what the guys are into, like naturally, like being in a competitive sport, competition is always great. Like naturally that is a mindset of wanting to win. And so how can we make this applicable to our fans? And like, it's so fun. And also it represents our brand or our partner in a great way that they're proud of as well.
No, I love the anecdote. Even in my head, Ari, I was like trying to imagine. Okay, I remember seeing that content, but I can't remember which platform I saw it on. And so, like, as you are now part of the social team, like, are we in a post-platform world? Like, is it just the idea is the idea and content is content, and it can work across platforms? You might need to package it slightly differently. You might use some different copy here and there when you're presenting it, or like, and even like, how do you guys organize your own team as well? Like, are you the in-house TikTok expert, the in-house Instagram expert, or is it really everyone? It thinks about every platform, and it's really just the story, the overall content story, and it can work across platforms. Like, are there different strategy, different audiences across the Texans platforms, or is TikTok and Instagram and YouTube Shorts and Twitter and Facebook, is it kind of becoming more and more of a unified just like content strategy?
Yeah, I would definitely say that there are platform specific things that work on each platform that, might not work on Instagram the same way it works on Twitter. I would say like Twitter is a more casual, like conversational type of audience, where Instagram is more packaged up together. And like you can get that conversational out of different Instagram pieces of content, but it's more like packaged up content, like produced content, graphics, like
Yeah.
Facebook is also a different audience because it is, I would think it's like, it's a different demographic
It's
in our,
older. It's old
yeah,
people.
I don't know how to say it, but yeah, it's a different audience. And so I think that, but also like you said, you pick the content idea, like the overarching idea, and then you figure out ways to make it cater to the cadence on that platform. And so, what might work for Twitter, like might not work for Instagram. Like a text tweet is not going to work on Instagram. So, how do we get a text tweet on Instagram? You put it on top of a photo.
Right.
You put the tweet on top of a photo. And so, like, really figuring out those different ways to make sure that the overarching story is getting on each platform, and like how do they do that essentially.
In terms of how you even divvy up with your own team and your own colleague, your own partners and staff, are you guys? Is there any sort of assignment or specialist on one platform or another? Or are you guys just all coordinators and you can touch it and post on any platform?
Yeah, so we have like our TikTok guru. His name's Zach. He's great. He's coming up with the craziest ideas. but it's what makes our TikTok good. But we all contribute to it, which I'm really proud of. And so it's really fun to be able to collaborate and like know like okay his bread and butter, he is so good at TikToks, but I can also throw out an idea, and like he'll
Yeah.
listen to me and he'll execute it, and like I can also post like whatever, like if I have an idea and I go in the locker room and I'm like, hey, like we're doing this challenge today, like I can post it on TikTok. Like I have the freedom, which I really like about our social team, is like everyone has the freedom to do whatever they're passionate about.
Yeah, no, that's how that's certainly the best teams for sure. Just a couple more last quick things. Then we'll get to this little shareable stat. I promise I can keep you all day. But I won't, Ari, don't worry. And that is touching on like the NFL. I think so much is does a really good job of making tentpole events. I mean, like whether it's like getting back together Saturday, which all of a sudden became an event, and it's certainly the draft and the opening of free agency, the legal tampering period, and then obviously during the season with every single game week and the home openers and whatnot. So when you guys are planning strategy, like how much of it is like these are things that we want to do eventually, or we really need to have a buttoned up strategy for these tent poles versus there's a different kind of line of thinking for what a day to day looks like, and there's stuff that maybe comes up more on the fly, like oh I had an idea, let's do it. Versus something that you really need to put more thought into and say, hey, we need to think about 3 months from now what we're going to be doing on the start of training camp. So how do those sort of different strategies come together, and how much planning goes in advance of these temples versus these sort of extemporaneous, real time, reactive type stuff?
Yeah, so I would definitely say, contrary to belief, there's a lot of planning that happens. There's so much planning. Like we are constantly planning stuff. And so when people ask me the question of what do you do in the off season? Oh, we plan for everything. Like
Yeah.
we are constantly making our content plans for draft. We're making our content plans, our ideas for media day, like prepping for that. And like even though they're a couple months away, like you are still every day contributing to them, and what do you need for them. There's so many different questions that you have to ask yourself of like, what do I need graphics, do I need to connect with PR, do I need to connect with marketing, are we doing a merch drop for this event, are we doing, like constantly asking yourself these questions. And there is a lot of planning. Our team is constantly prepping for what's next, because we never want to be behind. You always want to be ahead, and that's something working in social is like it's all about reacting fast, because everything happens in real time. So with as much planning as you have, there are going to be things that evolve in the moment that you're like, okay, I just need to act on this right now. Like my first thought goes to Andre Johnson Hall of Fame weekend when
Yeah.
he got inducted into Hall of Fame. We had like a whole plan, like an entire plan for that entire weekend of what we were doing. And like I came up with the plan and presented it to my team, and like, this is everything we're doing. This is the graphics we're doing. This is everything. And then things still come up, like you get different content based off of the opportunity. Like you prep for one thing and then you get 10 other things. And that's the beautiful thing about working in socials.
Yeah.
You're constantly evolving, you're constantly adjusting. And like I am a planner, so like when everyone sees my documents and they're 11 pages long, they're like, Arianna, why is this so long? But it's because you have to be prepared. And so I am a huge advocate for planning every possible thing
Yeah.
and having documents, being ready for the moment. I think Jay is someone on our team who he's the senior director of digital. He is a planner, and like he has instilled that in me of like just plan for every possible opportunity so that when you get there you aren't surprised and you have been there before.
Yeah. Is there like and maybe this differs across different organizations and different teams, like a sort of culture or a pressure even at times to say like, I'm trying to think of an example. Like you and I were talking not long after Ashton Hall went viral with the Saratoga water and banana peel on his face and all that. Like, is there a pressure to say like, oh, if we do something within the next 48 hours, we can maybe like do something to capitalize on it? And do you have to leave open these windows of time and opportunity to be able to try to capitalize quickly on these sort of ephemeral trends, or is that just not the culture of the Texans? Like, and it shouldn't be for every team. Like everyone's gonna be a little bit different. Of like, we don't need to like jump on every single trend, even if we think we have an idea. Like, how do you make sure that there's opportunity to have that time and resources and the ability to act quickly when the opportunity presents itself?
Yeah, I would definitely say like the flexibility, like our team is great, and like we have a content calendar, but we're not married to that content calendar. When that morning app or morning routine stuff happened, like I was working on that rather than working on a post that was supposed to go out later that day. And that's okay because that was the more trendy and more time sensitive thing to be working on was the morning routine. And like, I'm actually really proud of what we posted for that because, I felt like let's take a different approach than what everyone else is doing. And so I was like, let's DM the guys what's their morning routine. I mean, let's involve them in some way. And so we did that, and that was so fun. And that took some time because we had to wait for responses. And, maybe we didn't post it that morning when everyone else was, but we were able to come back with something that like was different than what everyone else was doing.
Yeah.
And so I think like giving yourself that time and that flexibility to, push something back a day because we have this going out today, and also knowing like when to jump on something. And we always want our content to be high quality and we want it to be great. And so how do we get it there? How do we tell the story, and making sure that we're not putting anything out premature, but also getting feedback of everyone. Like I was asking our team, like, should we do this? Like I want to hear what you guys think. And they're like, yes, let's do it. So like having the support of your team to know it's like a good idea and it's worth investing your time in.
And that's just so great, Ari. A great example of like, as you said a couple times on the interview of how do we Texans-ize this? Texans-ize it. I can't say the word, but like that's a great example of how you did that with the morning routine. Like, okay, yeah, we can do what everyone else did, and whatever, have our mascot go through the same motions as he did, or we can Texans-ize it, and that's a great example of doing so. I love that.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, very last things of the show stat because I love this question, especially when I talk to coordinators. Um, Give me the day in the life, or even week in the life, whatever makes more sense for a home game week, home game day. What is Ari Allen doing from the time she wakes up to the time she finally goes to sleep after a game?
Wow. After a game. So,
People, the whole day, the whole
oh,
day.
the
Yeah,
whole day.
from pillow to pillow.
Okay. A game, day in the week or
Whichever, if the week is a fun one to talk about, what Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
okay.
or we can just focus on on Sunday, whichever makes more sense for you.
Okay. I can touch on both. So Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, leading up to game day, a home game is typically insane. I always joke about like with my friends, like I'm an in-season Ari, so it's in season, it's grind mode, it's lock in. And typically Mondays we are doing press conferences, we are recapping the game. We'll do it in the instance of a win. All the content from the previous day I didn't get out, how are we posting it on Monday that it's still timely and still applicable to our fans and that they're going to care about it? So how do we do that? What do our Victory Mondays look like? Like one of the projects that I'm really proud of is like leading the charge for Victory Monday and what that looks like. And so making sure we have all the assets that we want for that. We making sure that I have all the memes, that they are all approved. We go through a legal process with certain memes, so making sure our legal counsel has seen them, making sure that PR is okay with it. So like, what does that look like? And making sure we're doing that all in a timely manner. That's Monday. And any partnership elements that didn't go out on Sunday or that typically go out on Monday, making sure those go out and that those are assigned people and that they're going out. Tuesday, we're still doing more or less of the same. We're trying to find now more creative formats to show different highlights. Like we've posted a highlight before, this highlight before. How do we make it different? Is it zooming in on the reactions of the sideline for the Sting interception, his second interception of the game versus the Dolphins? Like, is it zooming in, which we did that. We zoomed in on the facial reactions because they were crazy. And like, we had the same reaction. We're in the box like, oh my gosh, like this is a great way to translate the craziness to our platform. So finding different formats that work. Wednesday is typically when we move on to the next game. And so we are wrapping up whatever did not get out that week or in the earlier days. We are wrapping up whatever needs to get out. If there's any media interviews, if there's any quote graphics that we have from Monday, from the press conferences, getting those all out. That's when practice starts. That's when open locker room happens in our building. I know it's different for every team, but that's when we go in the locker room. We're typically asking players different questions, coming up with content for the week for our in-person conversations with them. Typically we have a Reliant giveaway going out every week. So we need a player to sign a helmet. So like making sure we're coordinating all of that kind of stuff. And then Thursday is full on move on to the next game. We are in next game mode, preparing the excitement for the next week. Friday, same thing. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are open locker room days. So we're in the afternoons. We're in the locker room talking with the guys, getting content from the guys. Saturday is doing like all partnership stuff. So we typically have 24 hours before the game for like a 12 p.m. Sunday game. That'll go out Saturday at 12 p.m. and like making sure we're hitting on all of our partnership assets. Something that was different about the MLS than the NFL, which now is probably similar, is the partnerships. I did not realize how heavy partnerships had a role in the NFL, which coming from the MLS was a little bit different than what I was used to. And so making sure that we are hitting all of our assets that we have sold on social for each week. And so that's typically Friday, Saturday, making sure that we're in a good place for Sunday. I'm prepping for Sunday. So, we literally have a 12:01 a.m. text post that goes out on Twitter and Facebook. And I am crazy. I schedule those. However, I wake up at 11:58 every single night, every single Saturday or Sunday morning. I wake up to make sure that 12:01 a.m. text post goes out, and that's typically when our game day coverage starts for a home game, and making sure that we're prepared. There's different initiatives for home games, so making sure that we are aligned internally with our marketing team, with our PR team, with our community team, what community huddle group is going to be in the end zone on this day, and making sure that we're aligned to hit on key moments. And then for game day, I have a almost 30-page document that I share with everyone of like, this is everything that is happening. This is copy for certain moments, and this is what we're going to do. And if anything comes up in the meantime, like, great, like, let's adjust, let's act on the fly. You never know what's going to happen. Like, for example, Diggs, one of our viral TikToks was him throwing a ball to a fan up in the higher level bowl in our stadium, and I was there for the moment, and he looked at me and said number 5, and you can't plan for that moment.
Yeah.
So adjusting our content on the fly to fit that. And then game day is typically crazy. I get to the stadium at 7:30 for a 12 p.m. game. I'm there. We're capturing arrivals from 8 to 9:30ish, 10 o'clock. And then from there, you go into warm-ups and you go through the whole thing. And then you go through the game, and, I'm the one live tweeting everything. So I'm on the keys capturing warm-ups and stuff. And then I go to the press box, and I'm on the keys and just like literally live updating our fans on the day. And we send out so many tweets. We post so much on game day. And so making sure that everything is getting across all platforms, making sure communication is good with our freelancers, with the people in the press box, with the people on the field, knowing what plays we need. If our producers got an angle, like, they're communicating with us, like, hey, I got this touchdown. I'm exporting it now. You'll get it in 2 minutes, and then we'll go live with it on our platforms. And so it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of pressure, but it's a lot of fun. And it's literally reacting to the game as it's happening and reacting so that our fans feel our excitement during the game.
Yeah. And then what is that? What does the end of the game, end of the night look like? And like, how do you finally get to the point where you can relax?
You don't. I'm kidding. Not really. But basically the game ends, post your final score graphic, you go through you win, you go through your win content, what happened. Like, I literally in the fourth quarter, I'm making a list of all the things we need to hit post game. So I'm like, okay, Sting had an interception in the second quarter. Let's revisit this. Let's revisit CJ touchdown. Let's revisit this catch by Nico, like all the things, and like coming up with it. And then you're in stadium for the home game, so it's really cool. And sometimes, like, we travel for away games, which is also cool. But like, this fan had a great reaction on the Jumbotron. Like, let's revisit this fan. Like, he was so excited. Like, let's do it, So, like, I'm constantly typing out these notes of, like, what we need to do. If we have any post-game memes, like, that's going out. Post-game speech, like, we know post-game speech is going to go out after every win. Like, making sure that we're prepped for those moments. And then I send it in our chat with our coordinators, and everyone picks what they want to do and, like, has ownership of it. We're getting selfie videos after the game from Will. So, like, not every game is from Will,
Right.
but, like, just an example. But selfie videos and just celebrations and all the things. So you're going through all the content. It's content overload. And then finally, like, I would say about an hour to an hour and a half after the press conferences happen, you can finally breathe and you can be like, okay, what does the rest of the night look like? And so then, as you get more removed from the game, you have longer durations between your content, and if it's a night game, you're not posting till 3 in the morning,
Right.
so you pick back up in the morning. But for the 12 p.m. games, typically posting till I would say 10, 10:30, 11, depending on the game, and then you wake up the next morning and do it all again.
That was tremendous. I asked you a very open-ended question. You delivered and then some. I am just exhausted, like hearing what a week and a day looks like for you there. Just really cool insight, and just this has been tremendous. All right, we're gonna have some more fun with you in our quick slant segment. But first episode shareable stat coming up right now. Awesome stuff from Arianna Allen, social media coordinator for the Houston Texans. Just so much good knowledge from her. Enjoyed all the examples and anecdotes, hearing about her experience during a game week, working with the players, getting inspiration, just lots and lots of good stuff. But stick around because we're gonna have some more fun with her and hear some more and learn from her in our quick slants segment, first episode's shareable stat. And so the shareable stat has to do with football, American football, for those of you who are international. And it came from a recent interview with Chief Marketing Officer Tim Ellis of the NFL, the CMO of the NFL, Tim Ellis. And he cited that if people that participate in football, people that play the sport, are 4 times more likely to become fans. He was speaking about how they're trying to grow the global footprint, how important it is to get more people playing, the investments in flag football, the investments in their youth programs and youth developments, both in the United States as well as around the world. And it really goes back to why we spend so much time on the fan development side that has to do with participation. And, not everyone grows up playing American football because it's a bit of a burden of entry to some degree, where you have to buy the equipment or maybe find a field, find enough people to play. But there also are more easy ways of entry. Hence, flag football, playing that two-hand touch with your friends on the street. I hope people still do that because I certainly did when I was growing up. And how that opportunity to just try the sport, become a participant, allows you to really fall in love with it and become that much more engaged with it. Hence, you see all the opportunities that people are doing with trying to grow youth baseball, youth ice hockey, youth soccer, certainly, as many of us grew up playing soccer and fell in love with the sport and became a fan later on. And so, as you think about your position, wherever you are in the organization, how can you get more people to just sample the sport, try it? We see lots of opportunities with free clinics or free camps or opportunities to get kids at the games themselves and interacting before, during, and after the game around the sport. How can you also then take that into the digital, social, marketing aspect of making sure people are aware of it, making sure people know how fun it is for their families, for their kids, even as a young adults or teenagers, how you can get them more participating more and more, and certainly the education aspect as the NFL teams in particular, but really sports across the board are trying to also reach that more global fan, that fan who may not grow up knowing the basic rules of football and American football as well. So lots of interesting stuff to take away. Certainly it's something that the NFL is top of mind thinking about with as NFL CMO Tim Ellis dropped this episode shareable stat. And again, that is people that participate in the sport of American football are 4 times more likely to become a fan of the league and the game itself. So that's just from shareable stat. Think about it, ponder it, talk about it, take action on it. But more importantly, stick around because we're going to have some more fun and learn some more from Arianna Allen with the Houston Texans. Back from this episode of Shareable Stat, and I'm joined once again by Ari Allen, social media coordinator for the Houston Texans. Ari, you kicked ass in the interview. Are you now ready to run some quick slants?
Let's do it.
All right, let's see how your route running skills are. First off, you talked about working at Broward and working on the student paper there. So tell me your favorite story you got to write or work on for the Observer at Broward.
Wow, you're bringing me back, I feel like years ago. But I would say how the last dance unites us through COVID-19. That was such a fun story to write. It was during an incredibly trying time in our society, and it originated from a story from me watching The Last Dance with my dad, and I was just like, you know what? This is uniting our family right now. How is it uniting other people? And so I wrote about that.
That's a great one. And I mean, shit, we could have a whole nother podcast episode probably just about what it was like being a student and figuring out your life at a time when things were so crazy during COVID. Like I don't envy you having to go through that at that time, but glad you came out the other side in a good place. And the last dance was certainly part of it. Number
Right.
two, this is gonna be an interesting one. So you worked with Rivals, and as everyone knows, Rivals, I think they're owned by Yahoo Sports now. and just a lot of impressive athletes recruiting high school and prep school and all that all under stuff. So tell me the most impressive athlete you saw in person when you were working with Rivals.
Ooh, that's a hard one. I would say Tyreek Sapp. He plays at Florida now. It's been really fun. I got to see him in high school, and now he's killing it at Florida. So I would say him.
Hell yeah. Is it weird kind of like where you were probably blown away by these athletes when you were at Rivals and even at working with the Gators, and now you go to the NFL and it's like, well, shoot, like everyone would have been the best player like when I was at Broward or whatever.
Right, right. It's
These
cool
are
to see it full
freaks.
circle. Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah. All right, number three for Ari. We didn't touch on this interview, but I'm interested to hear your insight because it's going to affect, who knows, your job potentially in the years to come. So, how do you use, if at all, how do you use generative AI today in your job, and how do you maybe foresee it potentially affecting your job in the years to come?
Yeah, so typically right now I haven't really used it that much, but I definitely need to change that because I do think it's going to affect um, the months and the years to come. I see it becoming a huge tool and a huge asset, and so I definitely need to learn more about it.
Yeah, no, I feel you. There's sometimes like day to day like FOMO of like, should I be doing more with it? Like, am I missing out on something that other people don't that other people are capitalizing on? It's yeah, it's tough, but no doubt if we're talking to if 3 or 4 or 5 years from now, who knows what day to day content production will look like and all that.
Right,
Gosh.
right.
Number four, this would be a fun one. The most memorable game during your time with the Texans so far. What's that one that sticks out?
Yeah, I would say our playoff game versus the Browns, my first year here. That was such a fun game. I mean, all of them are so fun and like they're not all of them are like not you don't they're not the same, like they have a different feeling and but the Browns was so memorable for me because that was my first year working in the NFL, my first NFL playoff game and it was just so fun to be a part of that environment. It was a home game. The fans were loud. It was insane. We had a meme that went insane after the game. And so it was just so fun to be a part of that environment and like really rally off of the fans' excitement. You could feel it. And it was just incredible.
Heck yeah, I bet that was a fun game. That was just like domination.
Domination. Yeah, that was really fun.
Number five for you. This will be a good one. A two-parter kind of. First, tell me the most viral content or post that the Texans have put out during your time there, whether you worked on it or not. And then, if it's different, your favorite piece of content that you've produced or captured yourself.
This is a great question. I think we've had a lot of viral moments. I would say one of the most viral posts that we put out was over the off season last year. Sketch went and worked out with some of our players, and so that was really an incredible moment. Being able to, he's a Houston influencer, and so it was really cool. And I remember like literally putting together all the content for that, like staying up all night, like looking at the different content from it and saving it. And so really getting a post ready for that. And our fans loved it. And so that was really fun. I would also say this wasn't my idea, but I helped execute it. I'm really proud of our team for really being able to capitalize off of this trend. But the sign your baby photos or like sign the photos from when you were a
Right.
kid, like
Yeah.
it's insane on TikTok. It's one of our most highly liked and viewed videos that we've done, and that was super fun. And it was just so fun to like literally like we were laughing with the players when like we would show them the photo, and it was just such a funny thing that we got to be a part of, and it was really being able to translate that trend on our platforms. And I would say what I'm most proud of and my favorite piece that I produced or captured. I would say our post game strategy is something that I'm really proud of. I help lead that front for our post game, whether that's memes and then everything that we're posting after the game. And, you know, I'm really proud of our team for being able to capitalize off of moments. And we are preparing our memes, like we have meetings for them. And so being able to get a bunch of different people from outside of our social team, like it is literally like we include a lot of people in these meetings and getting like their insight, like what do we think will be good this week, type of thing, and really planning that and seeing it be successful is like one of the best feelings when you see a W admin tweet or a W admin comment, like you succeeded. And so that is something I'm proud of, especially because it's a lot of work to do those and it's a lot of work and pre-planning to do it. So
Yeah, no, that's a great call out too. Is that that post game window after a win is so important to capitalize on it because you don't get those chances. You can't take this for granted. And that window when fans are will eat up anything you give them, and you give them the right stuff. Like it's a really important part of that strategy. So it's cool to hear that you're handling it.
Right. Thank you.
Next one for you, Ari, come down here with the quick slants. Tell me, besides the Texans or Inter Miami, since you were with them for a bit as well, the team or brand whose social media most impresses you and why?
That's a really good question. I would say in the NFL, the Eagles, like I think they have a great strategy. I love what they're doing over there. I think
Yeah.
they're great. I think they are really good at what they do. I would say outside of the NFL, F1, I love looking at F1 and seeing what they're doing, their different content. They have so many unique angles on different things, and so I just love being able to apply those same strategies to our platforms and seeing how we can bring it to the Texans, and there's it's so fun to do that. I would also say the NBA, like it's a great way for me to get inspiration. Like I constantly am looking at the Celtics, the Lakers, the Heat, the
Yeah.
Timberwolves, the Mavericks, like constantly looking at what they're doing. And I would also say outside of sports, Complex is a great way to get inspiration. So I'm constantly looking at Complex, looking at the way they're storytelling, because one of the reasons why I love social storytelling. And so how can we tell our players' story with quote graphics, with text on screen, like all the different things.
Yeah, some awesome calls there. Shout out to my friend Aaron at the Eagles. Love that social team. And yeah, F1. That when you said that one, I was like, hell yeah. Some of those teams, like whether it's Williams or Red Bull or whoever,
Mhm.
like, some of their edits on TikTok are just like, wow, like I just mind blowing. Like, how do you do?
Unreal, unreal,
I
and so
never,
creative.
yeah, seriously. All right, number seven for you. This is gonna be an interesting one. So besides like the obvious apps like email or Slack or text message or whatever, what's like the MVP app for you to do your job?
I would say Slate. I use Slate right now a lot. The Texans use Slate, and you've probably heard of Slate
Oh,
interviewing different people from the sports industry. I would say it's a game changer. Like we are editing videos, we are delivering Instagram stories that look so professional and so good. I love that app, and I think every sports team, especially sports social, needs it.
hell yeah! Shout out to Eric and the Slate team. They do a great job, and I've heard that from multiple people, and we work with them in my current company too. So yeah, hell yeah, Slate's awesome. All right, this is a time for our food question. We always gotta ask our food question. I love to be able to learn about different foods and food places. So tell me, you've been out there in Houston for a couple of years now. So tell me the best meal to get in Houston, where to get it, and also because you spent so much time in Florida as well, the best meal to get in the greater kind of Miami area and where to get it. So Houston and Miami, where are we going to eat?
Hmm. Houston, I love this place. They have like such good sushi. I love sushi, and I just started eating raw sushi, and it's this place called MF Sushi.
Mhm.
It's so good. It's so fresh. The vibe is so nice. I love it. It's really good. If you're out here in Houston, try MF Sushi. So good.
And what do we order?
Uh, I don't know. I don't order when I go there, but um, it's really good when I get. I get salmon. I'm not really a sushi expert, so I go with people who know more about sushi than I do.
That's smart for sure.
Yes.
All right, how
Yeah.
about Greater Miami area?
So in Miami, there was this place. It was like the coolest place ever. I don't know if they still exist. It's a taco shop in Miami. It's literally a taco truck, and they are in a nursery in the Wynwood area. And it was the best tacos I've ever had in my entire life. It's literally like a little truck in the middle of a plant nursery. And me and my family would go there all the time. We would go there and then we would go to Wynwood Walls. It's literally one of my favorite things to do. But last time we went there, they weren't there anymore. So I think they're closed.
Oh gosh, well that stinks. I can't go out and try it myself, but maybe who knows? Maybe one day it'll appear in the nursery again someday. And you'll
I hope so. I hope we're speaking it into existence right now.
hell yeah. All right, number nine, come down to the end here. I'm gonna make you pick one. I know it's gonna be tough. Tell me the Texans player who's most fun to work with, or who's like and or kind of like always good for a good clip.
Oh my God, that's a great question. I literally cannot pick one. We have such a good team. that like is always willing to help us out and just like have the best time with us while we need them. I literally cannot pick one. We have so many guys that are great between Will, CJ, Nico, like Kamari, like everyone, Joe, like they are so great. Like I cannot pick one. They are literally incredible, and I'm so honored to work with them.
I will we'll let you slide on not picking one, but I mean, just hearing you state some of those names, even it's a great thing to have when your star players are also the ones who are down to do content with you. That's a good situation to be in for sure.
Right.
All right, the last one. Tell me the Texans breakout player for 2025 will be who? And also a bonus, the player whose social media we should go check out and why. So which player is going to kind of break out, get on the national radar, maybe is a little bit lesser known right now, but we should all be watching out for. And then the player whose social media is just kick ass.
I would definitely say it's not one, they're a duo, but I would say Kaylin and Kamari, be on the lookout for them. They had incredible rookie seasons, and I just think the sky's the limit for them. They are going to be good in years to come. So stay on the lookout for them, get to know their names. And then a player's social media you should look at. I would say, Will Anderson Jr. He just posted this video about going to Japan, and it's so cool. Like the edit for it is really cool. I think he always has some of the best arrival outfits in my opinion, and so I would say Will. He is a cool guy. I would say check out his social. It's a lot of fun.
Some good ones there for sure. And I'm sure it's gonna be interesting as more and more players come from college with really well established brands and have all this NIL experience, and it's only gonna get better and better where they're coming in with like really impressive like YouTube channels already or TikTok feeds. Like who knows? Just really cool to be a part of that.
Right.
All right, are you kicked ass in your quick slants? You caught every pass. You nailed it. You're a first round draft pick for sure. Now tell us you get to tell us your social media all-star follow. Just tell us who they are, what platform or platforms they're on. It doesn't have to be social. It can be a newsletter, it could be a podcast, whatever it is, or a social platform. Just tell us who they are and why they're worth following.
Yeah, I would say we mentioned Slate, so I would say Eric at Slate. I have been following him on LinkedIn for the past few months, and I think he's constantly dropping gems, and it's just such an online community at his LinkedIn. So if you are a creative, or you are in social media, or wanting to get in social media in sports, and even not in sports, if you're just listening to this to listen to this, I would definitely say give him a follow on LinkedIn. He has a community of social media professionals that he posts one thing and then you go and click on a profile and you learn 20 other things about a platform, and I think it's great. It's a great community.
Good call. Check out Eric Stark. His hooks on LinkedIn will always get you to click to see more because he's good at that for sure. And as you said, like drops knowledge, drops truth bombs, and a lot of good comments on there too. So check him out. And then how about you, Ari? Where can we find you as well as all things Texans across digital social media?
Yeah, so you can find Houston Texans on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, all of the things. We're everywhere. And then you can find me. I have Instagram, LinkedIn, and you can find me at Arianna_Allen_ on Instagram or on LinkedIn, Arianna Allen.
Awesome. Check her out. She is awesome. She does a great job with the Texans. Her whole team does, and dropped a lot of knowledge and insight on the podcast today. And we thank you so much for coming on with us, Ari.
Thank you so much, Neil, for having me.